We're stuck conceptually, I think, between two almost cliche ways of thinking revolution today. On the one hand, we have the notion of revolution that involves the replacement of a ruling elite with another, better, in many ways, ruling elite. And that's, in fact, the form that many of the modern revolutions have taken and have posed great benefits for the people, etc., but they have not arrived at democracy. And so that notion of revolution is really discredited, and I think rightly so. But opposed to that is another notion of revolution, which I think is equally discredited from exactly the opposite point of view, which is it's the notion of revolution that in fact hasn't been instituted, that thinks of revolution as just the removal of all of those forms of authority, state power, the power of capital, that stop people from expressing their natural abilities to rule themselves. The question of human nature has long been a thing of political philosophy. In fact, I'm sure everyone had some stupid evening in college smoking way too much and talking, where you end up in a discussion where, like, you decide you disagree with your friend because she thinks that human nature is evil, you think human nature is good, and you can't get any further. I mean, I think that kind of stupidity, I think, has affected a lot of the history of political philosophy. And I think the relevant fact for politics running aground. Okay. Shipwrecked. The relevant fact for politics is really that human nature is changeable. Human nature isn't good or evil. Human nature is constituted. It's constituted by how we act, human nature is in fact the history of habits and practices that are the result of past struggles, of past hierarchies, of past victories and defeats. And so this is, I think, actually the key to rethinking revolution, is to recognize that revolution is not just about a transformation for democracy. Revolution really requires a transformation of human nature so that people are capable of democracy. Democracy is one of those concepts that seems to me has been almost completely corrupted today. In some cases, it's used to mean simply periodic elections with a limited choice of rulers. In other cases, when one thinks especially in international affairs, it often means following the will of the United States. But really, democracy means the rule of all by all. It means everybody involved in collective self-rule. Oh, you see those turtles over there? How do you transform human nature so that people will be capable of democracy? Lenin's solution to this problem is a properly dialectical one. He thinks, and this is in large part what the Soviets enact, that there has to be a negation of democracy, call it dictatorship of the proletariat, some sort of hegemonic state that would then operate the transition, that would transform human nature, then to eventually arrive at the time when people are capable of democracy, the state's no longer necessary, etc. It's probably the dialectical nature of this that seems to me mistaken. How do people learn democracy? How does human nature change to become capable of democracy? Not by its opposite. It can only be done in a sort of positive development. You can only learn democracy by doing it. And so that seems to me the only way it seems to me today to be able to rehabilitate the conception of revolution. Revolution then today refuses that dialectic between purgatory and paradise. It's rather instigating utopia every day. And there's something that feels immediately quite inappropriate about talking about revolution on such a, what would be sort of like aristocratic almost, I mean, not even bourgeois, aristocratic location. Rowing on a beautiful pond in a park with the rich of New York all around it. It seems like kind of an absurdity.
Well, where would we pick that would be the revolutionary spot?
But then that would be cliche already. One would think here the cliche would be that you choose as a visual site either a scene of poverty or a scene of labor and production. Because then you would show the ones who would benefit from it and even the subjects, the actors that would conduct it. But it strikes me in another way that it might be appropriate to work against such a conception of revolution as loss and as deprivation. It makes little sense to me to say revolution can't be made in the United States, or revolution can't be made in Europe because everyone's too comfortable, because they have too much to lose, etc. They too have an enormous amount to gain. When we say a better world is possible, we don't just mean a better world for those who are least off today. We mean a better world for all of us.